Play.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time in the world, wherever it is you are tuning in from. If it looks like I've just got out of the shower, it is because I have just got out of the shower. Damian, I hope you don't mind me indulging. It's not something that I want to do, but I do have to mention a certain football match that took place yesterday in northwestern England. I'm not sure if you are aware, Damian, but we had a historical result between my team, Manchester United, and Liverpool. I don't know if the offices of Warsaw, Wrocław, and Gdansk have been full of conversation about this mauling that Liverpool inflicted on Manchester United, or even Polish social media. But it's been all over my timeline for the last 24 hours. I don't know if there's been calls for Thomas Kuszczak to come out of retirement and save Manchester United. That's a name you didn't expect to hear on this podcast, right, Damian?
Definitely not. I mean, he wasn't really instrumental in Manchester United in the past. He was mostly just a substitute for Van der Sar. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if he would help really, especially at this stage where I think he's retired. But has it been like big news? I honestly don't know. I couldn't tell you anything about offices, but I've seen it on Twitter.
Yeah, but that's my point. Is if you've seen it on Twitter somewhere somehow, especially if it came via a Polish journalist, then that's why I'm saying it. The world is a much smaller place. You could have a whole defeat 10 or 15 years ago and maybe get away with it a little bit more easily. But it is a perfect moment for me to mention. I've got a book all about this exact subject, about recovering from defeats. And it's a nice segue. By the way, it's called Even the Defeats, and it's available in all lame and good bookstores. Talking of recovering from defeats, I'll begin with you, Damian. And hi, Mario. How are you? Mario's sitting pretty. He's down there, but actually in Italy, he's at the top of the table with Napoli. But anyway, listen, it begins as a nice segue because somebody who has suffered 14 months of fairly painful defeats, I would argue, whether that be Rafa Nadal. We all know the inflection point in that match at Love 40 in the third set. But even the Nadal defeat a month later, which sort of made us realize, oh, okay, there is a thing going on, if you like, at least in terms of those two. But I could go on. Of course, he had the hernia injury. I know that Shrihari disagrees with me on this point, but I do think there were certain moments over the last 12 months when it's like, there is a tactic, there is a textbook way of playing against Daniil Medvedev, and certain players are exposing that. And I think even Novak Djokovic played that exact same textbook match on Friday, I think it was. He just executed it really, really badly. And the textbook, Damian, is slice, slice, slice. Second serve in particular, when Daniil Medvedev is first serve return, when Daniil Medvedev is so far back, he's almost in a different emirate, that you come into the net and have an easy volley. The thing is, a couple of those easy volleys, Djokovic horribly put into the net. Anyway, but let's go positive. It's been a great 3 weeks for Daniil Medvedev, right, Damian?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the middle of this conversation, I suppose, because I do agree that the slice, people using slice against Daniil Medvedev was a pretty common thing, since like 2019, I guess. With his forehand technique, it's always going to be tough to play against it, even with the backhand, which of course is like as flat as a pancake, and it's pretty hard to get. To get it over the net sometimes from a very low ball. We've seen a guy like Stefanos Tsitsipas in the Cincinnati final, especially, or was it a semi? Yeah, a semi in Cincinnati, because of course he lost the final to Coric. Abuse serve and volleying as a tactic against Medvedev, even in some later match that they played against each other. So I wouldn't say it was like a real textbook. I wouldn't say it's something that we've seen especially in the second half of 2022, there was like a string of losses that Świątek had after that Garcia one in Warsaw. I think that was more like, someone just inventing the textbook and then people using it. This was more like some elements that maybe, other players also saw that you can, you can sometimes even really abuse them, like Tsitsipas did serve volleying in Cincinnati, just do it on every single point, and it actually might work because Medvedev is sort of incapable of trying something else when it comes to his returning position. Was what happened on Friday? You mentioned that Djokovic executed this very poorly. In a way, but maybe it's also not really his style at all. Like neither of these things.
But he
He
did it
can do
really well
them.
in Paris Bercy. I mean, that was kind of another one of these. Sorry to interrupt there,
It was
Damien, but in
different
Paris-
for
No,
me.
no worries, no worries.
Okay, Damien, why was it different?
What was different?
Sorry, no, Mario, you said it.
I say that.
Sorry,
Yeah, it was just
Mario.
Mario.
Go. What? Tell me, Mario, why it's different. And I will come back to you, Damien. I promise.
No, first of
worries.
all, I think that it was also a bit Novak's fault if some players then tried to execute some like a textbook against Medvedev, like you said, because that was probably the first match in which Medvedev, even if won that first set, then he was put into a lot of difficult situation due to his return positions and all these things. But I also think that there are some days and weeks in which it's very difficult to you have in your mind what you have to do sometimes, but it can be very, very, very difficult then to execute that, even because a few players are can do that smoothly. I'm thinking, for example, about Rublev, about the final. I think that Rublev started the match quite well, in my opinion, even if he was broken in the first game. I think that the start was good, but as the match went on, I really didn't know how Rublev could avoid that that ending. And so I remember that after the first game, in which there were a lot of good rallies, and I think that Rublev, I repeat, played well at the beginning. I looked at my dad and I told him, okay, 5 games. I told him 5 games, and I've been also pretty optimistic because in the end it was 6-2, 6-2. But I was sure that the match would have gone in that way, because I think that Medvedev now goes more deep. And he's more able. He's been more able than the Australian Open and in the last months of 2022 to be fast in starting a lot behind the baseline and then going a bit forward till having the rally in his hands, like he did a lot of times, for example, in that final.
I've just posted in the live chat, is Medvedev back? Yes, 3 titles in a row, including beating Novak and some other top 10 players. No, he needs a bigger title. Damien, where are you on the Medvedev back scale?
10. I mean, can you really say something else? I mean, he was mostly unplayable for the like 90% of these 3 weeks. It's just a bit of a shame, I guess, for him that there's not going to be a slam that he has done well in the past at until August. So there's no telling if he keeps up this form. I've always been on the train that Daniil Medvedev is going to win a few Wimbledons. It hasn't materialized, but I think with this flat ball striking, with the big serve, he has his chances there. But of course, Djokovic remains like a huge favorite if only he plays it, and of course he will. They're not going to ban him this year. It's just a bit of a shame, I guess, for Medvedev that his next major that he can actually win is in like 4 months. 4 months from now. But of course, there's also the Sunshine Double incoming. I'm not actually sure he's gonna do well there. Like, after these 3 weeks, he's gonna be quite tired mentally and physically. Also, Indian Wells has never suited him in the past. The high bounce, the very very slow court, and potentially maybe Miami, but even there he also hasn't been past the quarterfinals. But in terms of like whether this was Daniil Medvedev at his very close to his very peak, whether the February and the beginning of March version of Daniil Medvedev that we saw was very close to his peak, I would say yeah. I'm gonna say a 10. Even if he loses early in both Sunshine Double events, this isn't really like gonna change my mind. I think it's going to be other factors rather than perhaps us overestimating his form after these 14 wins in a row. I mean, he's beaten everyone that there was available. Let's say 4 top 10 wins, including one over Novak Djokovic, which of course is like the biggest of deals in the tennis world right now. Pretty much was close to losing only once, and not even to like one of his biggest rivals, but to Chris O'Connell. So can't really, I can't really give you any other answer to that question than a 10 or maybe like a 9.5 or something like that.
I guess the doubts, Mario, are still that it's a long time, a year, to not do great in terms of his ambitions and his talent and his reputation. And then also, it's been a 250 and 2,500s in this run. And I guess I put no, he needs to win a bigger title, but he has been beating some pretty big names. Where do you stand on the Daniil Medvedev is back scale, Mario?
I have to say that I 100% agree with what Damian said, because I'm also thinking about his level, the level of tennis he showed, and also the mental side of his game. For me, in Doha, he was fantastic because he had, in my opinion, the poorest week among the 3 in terms of tennis level. Probably the first match against Davidovich was in Rotterdam was the lowest point in these 3 weeks. But I mean, even the fact that he's been able to do some stunning performances, for example, against the final in Dubai, also against Djokovic, he played a great match. But I'm thinking also about the end of the final against Sinner. But he's also been able to overcome a lot of sometimes a bit of issues. I remember, for example, in the second win against Auger-Aliassime, was a breakup in the second. Then he didn't close the match, but still was able in the tiebreak to refocus and to win in straight. And a lot of other things that show me that I think his mental game has been those of the best days. Even if I know that it's not like a big title, a very big title in this stretch, but Dubai, we can consider this tournament as an important 500 because of course the presence of Djokovic, and also we saw a decent level from Zverev, and there was Rublev. He was the defending champion. He reached the final, and Medvedev had lost the 2 previous matches against Rublev. I think that the signs are truly positives.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, really, the players he's beaten during this run, they are players that you may get an easier run in a Masters 1000. You could win a Masters 1000, and you don't have to beat Yannick Sinner, Davidovich Fokina in the first round in Rotterdam. I mean, I'm not saying Davidovich Fokina is the heaviest of heavyweights, but first round, that's a tricky one. Who else has he beaten in this run? He's beaten Djokovic, of course. He's beaten Rublev as well. Liam Brody. He beat Liam Brody. And I think the Liam Brody score, by the way, Damian, was exactly the same as... It was certainly straight sets, and I think just one break in each. I think it was 6-4, 6-4. And Novak Djokovic...
6-4, 6-3, yeah.
Oh, was it 6-4, 6-3, was it?
I think.
So Liam won one less game than Novak.
Less game
Liam is just like... tiny, just like 2% worse than Novak Djokovic.
Okay, but he was a breakup. He actually broke Medvedev's serve in the first game, and I think he had a
I remember.
He had a fairly easy smash, unfortunately, that he put into the net, if memory serves me right. By the way, talking of horrible smashes, Djokovic did a really horrible one that came off the frame of the racket, the kind of one that you would see in a club. And I just think Djokovic did have a pretty bad day at the office. 38 unforced errors. I know we're focusing a lot on that match, but for me, that is the one that's probably the one that we're looking at in terms of Medvedev's two hits.
I don't know why. I don't know. I was thinking that Medvedev could win this one even before the match, because when you come into this kind of match in this form, knowing also that Medvedev is able to create some issues to Novak in some days, and given the fact that still was what Dubai was for Djokovic, it was like what Rotterdam was for Medvedev. First tournament after the Slam, the Australian Open, and Djokovic, of course, won the Australian Open. Then the uncertainty to play the Sunshine Double. I don't know if you can probably load just a little bit your probably mental focus and determination. I don't know. There were some small factors that I was thinking like, Medvedev's 4 losses in a row against Djokovic, but today he can return to the winning way. I don't know. I had this feeling also before the match, and I don't want to evaluate that one too much, because there were a lot of other positive signs, in my opinion, in these 14 matches.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to bring up this quote, and then I'll come to you, Damian, on a final Medvedev sort of point. I saw that when Novak is number 1, I'm 5-3, as in I think he's won 5. Yeah, he's won 5 and lost 3. And when he's not, I'm 0-6. So stay number 1 as long as you can, Novak. So that way he feels there is a chance of winning. Damian, is there anything you'd like to adjust that Mario and I have touched upon in the last sort of 10 minutes?
Not really. I mean, what I said earlier, that this doesn't really make me think that over the next 3-4 months, Daniil Medvedev is going to be the best player in the world. He's probably not going to be. Like if he wins one Sunshine Double event, I think it's already great for him, given how he was doing in these events in the past. Of course, we're not expecting that much from him in the clay season. It would probably be like a pretty big surprise to see him win a title. I think he's made the final in Barcelona a long while ago. Of course, he's also beaten Djokovic in Monte Carlo, but other than that, it's mostly been very slim pickings. But this was truly very reminiscent of his peak. It's just it's not really giving him much in terms of major titles, because the majors that he can win are going to start in July, maybe even August. So in terms of that, perhaps that's a bit of a sour note, but of course that's not really something he can do anything about. And as you sort of said at the beginning, if you looked at the past 14 months of Daniil Medvedev, there was all the frustration building up. There were some physical issues in there as well. So I'm sure this must feel amazing for him and for his confidence going forward, which which just tells me that perhaps in the second half of the season, he's going to be an absolute force and a threat to win every title again.
Yeah, interestingly enough, in the last 3 years since that Barcelona final, actually his best clay court performances have come at Roland Garros. I mean, maybe losing to Cilic last year but he's actually exceeded expectation at the French Open. Anyway, there was one more thing I wanted to add, but don't remember what it was. Oh, housekeeping time. Listen, statistically, there will be about 100 people that watch this video, maybe 200 if we're lucky, and maybe with stellar guests like Mario and Damian, we may even reach 300 views. But about 2/3 of those, so about 200 people will watch this video, and they did not subscribe. And we need subscribers to keep going. Mario, they cannot believe it, that 2/3 of our viewers don't subscribe.
Unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. Very good. It's unprofessional. That's what Eric Ten Hag said.
Unprofessional,
about Manchester United yesterday. So it's unprofessional to watch this video and not subscribe. And please do so I can keep having stellar guests such as Damian, such as Mario, and all the other people on this show, so we can keep going and bringing you more tennis shows. So please hit the like button and do not forget to subscribe. And it's completely free, and it's just one click away. Okay, listen, let's move on. Damian, I want to get your thoughts on Rublev. Are we in a kind of, here we go again with Rublev? There's a ceiling. There's the air of frustration that hangs over him. He takes these defeats hard. There were a couple of mini meltdowns on Saturday. Or have you got some optimism regarding Rublev, Damian?
I don't think anything has changed much, in my perception of Rublev, I suppose. The big sort of issue with him so far in his career has been the fact that he cannot really beat his peers in the best, in the most important matches, right? The 7 lost Grand Slam quarterfinals, where twice he played Rublev. Twice he played Tiafoe and Cilic, who were kind of peaking, but other than that, it was also, Medvedev, Zverev. Was there a Djokovic? I think there was a Nadal in it. Tsitsipas. And he's just losing to these guys constantly in the most important matches. Of course, he's just scored his first win over Zverev, even his first set against the German. But Zverev just didn't really seem that, he didn't seem fully back, especially in terms of his lateral movement, the way he was covering the court, which in the past used to be a big issue for Rublev in that matchup, just to try to hit through him. And honestly, I was expecting him to keep that Medvedev match, that final, a little bit closer. Felt like the way he was returning, especially against Zverev, if he could just replicate that, it would really give him some sort of a fighting chance. It didn't at all. So it kind of joins the list, unfortunately, of big matches that Andrei Rublev has lost to the likes of Tsitsipas, Zverev, Medvedev, which have been many. And as long as he cannot really beat these guys in the most important matches of his career, he might struggle to win that huge title, which he's kind of lacking. Of course, he's won plenty of 500s, but anything above that, and of course, he also hasn't been past the quarterfinal stage at a Grand Slam yet.
Mario, what did you make of Medvedev? By the way, I've got an article here on the screen. Medvedev has subtle swipe at Tsitsipas. Let me listen. I actually know the lady who wrote this article. She was a lecturer, Carrie Dunn. Here she is. She was a lecturer at my university in London. So, but listen, Carrie, you're a great journalist, but I would probably say subtle is being very, very kind or very you're underplaying it, because there was nothing subtle about this at all. Hopefully Rublev can beat him many times. I thought it was very funny, Mario. What did you think?
Yeah, I found it funny. To be honest, I hated just a lot all the polemic stuff I read in comments, and for me it was just funny. And I also like a bit of drama and some things. It wasn't a real drama. It was just. Yeah, I don't know. Of course, he could have avoided that, of course, but I don't know. I mean, for these things, I don't find this too much. So yeah, I don't. To be honest, I don't have anything to say in particularly. I was okay with that, and I had fun. To be honest.
Yeah, me too. Just for those tuning in that are not quite aware of the backstory, there's no love lost between Medvedev and Tsitsipas going back about 3 or 4 years. I think it was Miami where they had a huge
Yes.
row after the match, and there's been a constant sort of trickle of jibes from both players. But what happened in particular regarding this was that in November of last year, Tsitsipas loses to Rublev, and afterwards says it's not good that he loses to a guy with so few tools. And so Medvedev, first of all, quotes that exact same thing, saying it's good that he prevailed with the few tools that he has, and then goes on to say that I hope he beats said person, Stefanos, many, many times. I have no problem with it at all. I thought it was very amusing. But I do think
also,
that...
I just think that it's also a matter that also Rublev, to be honest, didn't need that, because there was that Monte Carlo final, but Rublev beat Tsitsipas 6 times, so I think that he knows that he can beat him in some days. But it was still for me a funny thing. I had a laugh and stopped.
Me too. Okay, any other Dubai thoughts, players that made a mark for you that you wanted to highlight in this show, Damian?
I guess I already closed like the page with the Dubai results. So I'm not sure if I'm missing something, but I don't think there was. I mean, I think both me and Mario did commentary for Zverev Rublev, and we were sort of talking about the German being clearly not fully back yet. But definitely getting better, and I think that was probably one of the main stories of the week as well. Otherwise, there weren't, I think, any real like standout performers who surprised us in any way. We kind of have to wonder what would have happened if Rublev, lost to Davidovich Fokina, because of course the Spaniard had 5 consecutive match points. Which very rarely happens. You basically need it in the tiebreak. So we kind of have to wonder what would have happened in that event if Davidovich Fokina won that match. But I think it's pretty clear that the winner of the title would not have changed. Anyone coming from the bottom half was probably losing to Daniil Medvedev.
Indeed. Okay, let's switch to. Let's go with Acapulco. There were some interesting moments and some interesting matches there. To conclude, Alex de Minaur won the title, beating Tommy Paul in 3 sets in the final. Tommy Paul beating Taylor Fritz in the semi-final in 3 sets was also a standout moment. What are your thoughts on what we saw in Acapulco, Mario?
Well, it has been a funny tournament, to be honest, to be a tennis fan, because also the latter stages of the event have been really, really close in terms of battles. I'm thinking about the 2 semifinals, also the second one with Rune and de Minaur. But even the final had few very, very good moments. Probably the third set wasn't so close as people would have expected, but the final in himself was quite good, and I think that de Minaur showed a great level, but also Tommy Paul, after probably the defeat he suffered in Derry Beach, it wasn't very on point during that week. But after the semi-final reached at the Australian Open, having been in the final there in Mexico is also a very, very good sign. Actually, I've seen some good signs also coming from Taylor Fritz, because he played some good matches against Shapovalov and Tiafoe, and before losing that epic one against Paul. So yeah, I mean the time zone doesn't help. As European, because the matches are from 1 a.m. till 7 a.m. but yeah, for what I saw, I've enjoyed this tournament. Probably then there weren't the players like Djokovic and Medvedev that focused the attention. But yeah, still was a fine week, and the draw was. The level was higher probably last year, 2 years ago, but even this year there were very, very good players. And there were also some nice stories. For example, the little brother of Matteo Berrettini, Jacopo, who won his first match. Of course, thanks to
won. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but still, at
the
least
guy pulled out injured, right?
Yeah. Your favorite, Oscar Otte.
Yeah, my favorite Oscar Otte. Yeah.
But German. Still, at least he qualified, so he can say that he won some matches, some full matches.
Mario, just quickly, give me 60 seconds on Matteo Berrettini. Where are we at the moment with him?
No, my thumbs up is because a lot of players are every day asking me, is he okay? He's gonna play next week. So that was thumbs up. Regardless of that, I don't know what to take away from this Acapulco tournament, to be honest, because there has been only one full match against Elias Ymer, and I think that Berrettini can. Yeah, I was expected a match like that.
A year ago, I would expect him to maybe win this tournament, but not this time, really.
No, I have to be honest. I was not so faithful, but yeah, I just think that we need to see him in this Masters now, because what we saw in Acapulco was not enough, in my opinion, to have a clear judgment about his tennis, and so it's very difficult for me to say to be sure about him, because I saw very, very, very little stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, just quickly, I've got this thing on the screen about Fritz's illness. I guess, I mean, de Minaur won the title, so I guess we should talk about that being a highlight. But, and I don't know if it's a low light or a highlight, but basically Fritz had to vomit at one point.
Yeah, I saw.
Against Tommy Paul. So we don't know if that'll be shown on Airflix, because Tommy Paul is currently being filmed. But anyway, listen, any final thoughts on... Listen, what do we think about de Minaur, Damian? Is there a Masters 1000 for him out there, or a Grand Slam final at all, really? And if it is, where's it going to be? Wimbledon, maybe?
We'll just answer Matthew, who asked about Cordan Brooksby. They are both out of Indian Wells, and they're both injured and trying to make it back for Miami. So they're both still on the entry list for Miami, but we're going to see if they make it. De Minaur, this draw, honestly, like for him, it was very soft. Pacheco Mendes, Jacopo Berrettini, they're not really, Pacheco Mendes is 17 and of course a pretty nice prospect, but still not ready. Jacopo Berrettini, he's not an ATP Tour player. Let's be honest about that. And then he just beat Taro Daniel. He beat Holger Rune, who was cramping in the third set, and of course Tommy Paul coming off that marathon win over Taylor Fritz. So especially compared to Medvedev's Dubai run, it's not really close. It's of course the biggest title of Alex de Minaur's career, and he's made 2 500 finals in the past, losing to Federer and someone that I cannot remember right now. But they were definitely in stronger draws. In terms of him being a potential Masters 1000 champion or a Grand Slam finalist, if he gets a draw like this again, maybe. But of course, there are even if there are some things that he does, especially of course with the court coverage, with the foot speed. Maybe he's the fastest player on the tour even. He has been trying to beef up his serve, try to be a lot more aggressive from the ground, but he quickly loses control playing like that. And there are some super obvious limitations that, of course, have been keeping him down. And I'm not sure that this will be resolved anytime soon. But of course, very nice for him to get his the biggest title of his career. And I also, I guess, I have to say that, Rune was probably, until his injury, the strongest looking player in the field. But of course, injury until his cramps, not injury. And also Casper Ruud, I think, was a nice talking point this week. Trying to get back into shape. He barely survived Guido Andreozzi in the first round, and then lost to Taro Daniel. This was Taro's first top 10 win, even though he actually beat Novak Djokovic in the past. But I think Djokovic was 13th in Indian Wells. I've seen a lot of scoreboard watchers on Twitter, saying that this was disgusting from Ruud in that Daniel match. I don't think that's true at all. I really think that in the last two sets he was hitting his forehand extremely well. He was also serving great in both matches, so perhaps there's some hope there. But I think Casper Ruud's real hardcourt level is somewhere between what he's showing this year and being a Grand Slam finalist. It wasn't his real, the real ability that he has in hardcourts in August, or rather September 2022, and it's not what he can do. Like, what he's doing right now is also not his actual tennis skills. It's somewhere between in the middle, and
exactly.
He's gonna have to try to recover from this string of poor losses.
Yeah, he's a really, 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 really good tennis player. He's one of the top 5, 10, 15 in the world, and at various points,
for me,
at various moments.
For me, that is the difference. For me, that's the difference between Ruud and Minaur. For me, Ruud has the weapons to has better weapons than Minaur, even if they both are very, very nice tennis players, and that's why, for me, Ruud has been able to capitalize some chances, and the other one not.
And the top spin forehand of Casper Ruud is just an insane shot, 100%, and it's something that no one, even people who are even more who underestimate Casper Ruud even more than I do, they can't really even argue with this.
For example,
and
I think that
also
the Turin court was perfect for his tennis, and I remember the match he played against Taylor Fritz. I mean, I agree with what Damian said, but I think that in some conditions he can be a very, very important threat.
Okay.
Yeah, Ghosty asked, sorry, but Ghosty, I'm just going to say that Ghosty asked, who is more likely to make a Grand Slam final, Ruud or Minaur? And I don't think that's a real question at all. I think he was joking, because it's not close.
Yeah, no, Ruud. And the thing is, Ruud maybe just needs a half decent, not amazing, but just one little thing to go his way in terms of the draw, and he can be in a Grand Slam final again, just like he was last year. I mean, I would say in both. Yeah. I would say exactly with New York and at the French Open last year. Tsitsipas goes out at the French Open. His form is a long way off. And then Casper Ruud is the next most likely person to make the final on that side of the draw. Whether he wins one at the end of his career, I'm not so sure. But that's for another day. I want to get over, because we've only got 10 more minutes before I have to go. I want to switch over very quickly to the women's. Marta Kostyuk won her first WTA title last week in Austin, Texas. Austin, of course, is the home of Lance Armstrong, but the comparisons between Kostyuk and Lance Armstrong must end, because otherwise I might get sued and the channel will come down. But listen, Kostyuk had a great win. She, beat Brengel en route, including bagling Brengel in the third set. Danielle Collins is probably the standout victory for her. There was no loss between her and Gracheva, of course, in the final, where there was no handshake, etc., and a lot of Twitter melted down over that for one reason or another. Where are we on Kostyuk, Mario? Is she You know, is there? Are we going to see a huge step forward for her this year? I think there was a lot of optimism about her in her teens. She's now just turned 20, I believe. Where are we at? In fact, she's going to be 21 in June. Where are we at with Marta Kostyuk? And tell me something about her, Mario.
Okay, so the final was not so convincing, in my opinion, from both players, but understandable. It was understandable. She played well this week. I'm thinking about the big step forward you are mentioning. I mean, I think that for sure she can be ranked higher than she is now, but I'm also thinking about some of her performances I saw before this week in the Australian Open, for example. She's playing well all year, more or less, but I don't know if she's going to be ready to be a top 15, 20 player, even in 2 or 3 years, to be honest. I think she has to work a lot on her tennis, in my opinion, to adjust some things that against some kind of players make the job very, very difficult for her. That's my opinion, but I like her tennis. But I'm not sure she's going to put all the things together. Let's see if she can make this.
Any thoughts on Marta Kostyuk, Mario? Sorry, Damian, before we move over to Monterrey?
I mean, I'm a little more optimistic. As you said, since she made Australian Open third round in 2018, she was at 15 years of age. I mean, she was always looked as some sort of a huge prospect, and I think that's still the case. She has, though, lacked like the ability to win her WTA title, which right now, of course, she's done it, and also get that first top 10 win. She's currently 0-13 against top 10 players, even though she's come close on multiple occasions, like the 2 matches against Belinda Bencic just last month. She has been there. She has been very close to these sort of achievements, and hopefully it's just going to be like a flood right now. But I don't know if that's going to happen. But of course she's capable of like getting big runs, deep runs at huge events, and hopefully we're going to see it just on a more regular basis. Hopefully it's going to be like just she took that step and is going to be able to go forward with it right now.
Over in Monterrey, we had Donna Vekic, who's been having a quietly, maybe slightly louder than quiet, if there is something between quiet and loud, year, because I think she had a pretty good Australian Open. She went out to Sabalenka there, but the first set was really, really close. And of course, Sabalenka, we all know how she ended up with winning that tournament. So we had Donna Vekic winning over there with her WTA 250, beating Garcia in the final as well, possibly in terms of her run to the final. Beating Caroline Garcia is a huge win in the final, 7-5 in the third set. By the way, looked like she was in a spot of bother in her first round match. I'm not familiar in terms of the match, but she lost the first set 6-2 and got a walkover basically because her opponent pulled up lame, Tsurenko. So there you go. Things can change very quickly in tennis, and so much so she goes on to win the tournament. Caroline Garcia, though, Mario, I will get to Vekic in a second. Caroline Garcia, since that win at the WTA finals last year, she went out to the Polish Linette, of course, in Australia. She's now lost here in this final to Vekic, when many people maybe would have expected her to win. What do we think about Garcia at the moment? And it was especially coming up with the Sunshine Double in the next couple of weeks, Mario.
I will never be shocked about some ups and downs from Garcia, because we know her very, very, very well. We know that she can have some truly amazing runs and outplaying literally everyone, but we also know that she can also struggle in some periods and some stretch of the years. Like, for example, she was pretty down, for example, before the second half of 2022, and her start of the year is not really bad, because she won some matches. She's been into finals, even in 250 events. So I will not say that Garcia had a horrible start of the week. I don't think so. Also, losing to Donna Vekic, you can lose to Donna Vekic in a hardcore final. Probably, I would say that even if she lost these finals, probably this has been her most consistent week, probably, in terms of level. Because even when she reached the final in Lyon, I didn't like so much what I saw from coming from her. While this week, coming into the final, she had some good performances. But yeah, I think that she can turn it up when she wants, to be honest, because we know that when her confidence is high, she can do amazing things. Probably she needs to try to be a little more patient in some days when things are not working so well. But it's difficult to say, because when your game plan led you to win some titles and to beat some kind of players, it's also difficult for you to rely on other game plans that you don't know if they can work on you, or so I am so about her start
What's
of
her
the year.
coaching situation at the moment? Either of you know?
Yeah, I don't remember who is her coach.
So she fired or separated from her coach, I should say, last year.
Yeah, because
around
it was
about
his
September,
decision.
October.
I know it's been his decision.
Okay. So she separated from her coach last year for one reason or another. I know she didn't have a coach for the last couple of months of the season, but I wasn't quite sure where that situation was. Do you know, Damian?
I mean, I think there was someone who was announced for like 2023, but is it still the case? Yeah, Juan Pablo Guzman, but that I don't know if they're actually like haven't really paid attention. Is he like sitting at their matches? Juan Pablo Guzman is of course a former player himself. I think he was even in the top 100 briefly.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything that I should
Yeah, if you want to add
talk
anything to
about?
Monterrey, because I've got 60 seconds basically. So
Oh, 60 seconds on Monterrey. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Vekic, I mean, there's nothing quiet about her, I think, since San Diego last year. I mean, the woman is 21-4, and I think 14-2 this year. So, there's nothing quiet about it. Of course, she's a phenomenal ball striker. Of course, she was kind of hampered by injuries throughout her career, and and right now she's just utilizing that potential that she has. Yeah, Garcia, even though she maybe isn't at her 2022 levels yet, this is still like the period since June 2022. This is still the most consistent patch of her career. So I have nothing to nothing wrong to say about her. We've never seen her produce on so many occasions over the course of 8-9 months. So yeah, keep going, keep doing the same. Frankly, maybe just adjust that returning position sometimes against big servers like Parks in the Lyon final, but otherwise
yeah.
go ahead. And of course, Monterrey was on slight altitude, so that's perfect for Garcia as well, and to an extent for Vekic, but maybe not as much as for the French woman.
One thing, of course, in Mexico, and perhaps it's because it's for men only, they don't stuff that big sombrero on their heads I'm not quite sure whether that is a men-only thing, because I think I've seen sombreros on women's heads too. So at least they don't do that in Monterrey, unlike Acapulco. I always see tennis players looking rather awkward with those sombreros on. But of course, I think they've won a title, so I guess they shouldn't care. Listen, guys, thank you very much for joining me today. I will be doing an Indian Wells preview in sometime tomorrow. So we've basically avoided that topic. But of course, there's lots and lots to look forward to in the next couple of weeks with that Sunshine Double. Here we go. Mexico is not for men only. Yeah, I don't mean Mexico, Ghosty. I mean the sombreros. But thank you very much. Listen, guys, thank you for stopping by today.
Thank you.
Thank you. We didn't talk about Santiago, and I'm sad. But
I'm sorry, Damian. Go on, give me
a topic for another day.
I'm sad too, to be honest.
Give me something on Santiago, because Jari, of course, winning there. Go
60 seconds, it's not enough. 60 seconds is not enough. It's going to have to. I'm sorry, guys. You're going to have to miss it. You're going to have to miss it.
All right, Damian. I'm going to be late anyway. So listen, guys, thanks very much. Jari, I'm really sorry. Lo siento mucho, señor Jari. Pero tenemos que dejar este capítulo de nuestro canal aquí. Pero espero que tengo, Christoph, señor Jari, espero que estás aquí en nuestro canal un día pronto. I hope to have him on the show someday soon. Listen, I've not reached out to him, by the way, so don't get all excited that I've got Jari coming on the show. Not yet, anyway. Maybe on the back of this episode, I'll reach out to him, and
so we can't write.
Maybe he will reach out to you. Actually,
I'm sure he'll be really angry right now. He'll be tweeting saying, "Why didn't you mention my Santiago title?"
You're right.
How often does he listen to a show and then suddenly someone starts talking in Spanish to him? It's
exactly.
It's
And by the way, he vivido en Chile también. He estudiado en Santiago de Chile, mi máster de periodismo y globalización. Pues. Yeah, tenemos un conexión por eso. Okay, listen, guys, I'm going to get going because otherwise we'll be here all night. And we don't want to listen to me speak Spanish all night. So big thanks to you guys for stopping by, and I'll speak to you both very soon.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.